Hello, world. This is Ryan Bant again. Today, we're going to talk about 5 thoughts about Christian Coleman and his world record at a 6.37. I got 5 different thoughts about that. The first one being that people want to run fast. I actually think that Clemson facility is probably a place where people could run fast. And I don't think it has necessarily anything to do with the surface or anything like that. It actually has a lot to do with the deceleration zone that they have set up in that particular track. In certain bank tracks, they have extreme banks, or the spot where they can kind of decelerate is really, really short. At that particular track, even running at world record speeds, you can run aggressively through the line, and you don't have to think about, that wall is coming and I have to jump into the mat. And obviously all the athletes did that, but in different facilities, that zone that they have, in other words, to slow down, is not quite as long. And I think that allows for athletes to run really, really fast there. So it'd be interesting to see later on in the winter, especially with some better competition to race against. And I know obviously there's another athlete that ran 6.57, so that's moving fast too, but a whole 8 lanes filled with really, really good athletes. So that's thought number one of the 5. I think that there's opportunities to run really fast there. Thought number 2, I don't know if this is going to be ratified as a world record yet. For a 6-second race, it was pretty interesting. Coleman's coach talked about for 6 seconds, it's taken 6 hours to go through the process of getting this record ratified. And obviously he'll get past doping control and all those types of things. Obviously the track itself is 60 meters and all that. My concern is that there wasn't electronic blocks for response time. And it looked clean to me. It looked like he didn't leave before the gun. Obviously, the film of the race, which with most crazy performances like Wilt Chamberlain's, 100-point game and things like that, the film is not awesome that I've seen thus far on the race. There's a couple different angles, but from what I could tell and from what everybody else says, it doesn't look like he jumped. But the fact that there isn't electronic blocks might stifle the world record, which I'm concerned about because I think that it's pretty cool that he broke it, and I'm a big fan of Coleman, and I'd really like to see him have that record. However, he's got a lot of other races in which he could continue to try to knock that record down with some really good competition. Number 3, I think that again, he can go after that record and break it again. I think that if you look at where he's at as an athlete and how young he is and being a pro and the fact that he's opening this race up, that I think that he's going to really do a great job. And I think that this is probably something that he could do. However, when you break a record, one of the things I learned from Dan Path is, you might want to take a break because your body goes through some things it's never gone before when you go past a big barrier like that, not just a world record, but a personal best. And in this situation, it was a world record. And it looked almost ungodly, unhuman how fast he was able to accelerate. And that's hard because now that you've broken the world record, people are going to want you to come to their meets and race. And you're going to want to chase the money, especially in a year without any world championships and at least outdoors and no Olympics. And so for an American athlete that doesn't have the Commonwealth Games or things like that, it's tempting to obviously chase the money and go after that. But what I would rather see is maybe take a week or two away from racing, stabilize that new you, make sense of it all. And then maybe that first race back, you're running the 200 on a bank track instead of the 60. Now that's easy for me to say as a high school coach and not somebody who coaches professional athletes, but maybe taking a week or two off of racing to kind of stabilize that new you might be smart. Second thing, when we look at this performance, and it's really amazing to see what the Tennessee sprinters have been able to do. Obviously, Coleman's no longer a Tennessee sprinter, but it is really amazing to see what he's done, and then his compatriots that are still in college, what they've been able to do afterwards. Maybe Tennessee might be a sprinting mecca before we know it, and it'll be really interesting to see what he continues to do, and then obviously the collegiate sprinters continue to do actually at the University of Tennessee as they move forward. I think that that'll be very, very interesting as he moves forward. The last thing I would say, though, and this is the fifth of all these things is I do think he could probably break the world record again, as we mentioned before, but I also think he could break the American record in the 100. If you look at those kind of times, Tyson Gay's 9.6 and some change has a genuine opportunity to go down, and I think he's the kind of guy to do it. He's young enough, he's fast enough, and his 10 to 30 to 40 meters was the most ungodly like acceleration that I've ever seen. So hopefully, that'll be something that we can see happen really soon. Last thing, I do have a book. It's called The Sprinter's Compendium. If you guys are planning on coming out to Altus this February for President's Day weekend into the basically the second to last week of February, they have what's called the Apprentice Coaches Clinic going on there. And we really like you to come out. If you do come out and sign up, I will give a reduced clinician price for this, $10 off. And the next two people that sign up for the ACP will get a free copy of this book for just being a member and being a part of the track and field fellowship and participating in some professional development. So I hope you guys join us, and we'll talk soon.